Is there any better feeling than writing those final 2 words to any manuscript? You've poured your heart into it, you've lived with these characters for months, if not longer, and you think you're finally done. Fuck me, I wish it was that true. When I first finished my first draft of One Epic Year, I thought I'd basically polished a masterpiece. I read it back, I'd run spell check, I was ready for the big leagues, right? But I was very, very wrong, because finishing your draft is not the same as finishing a book. So today we're going to be talking about the biggest dilemma every indie author has to face. The three-headed beast of editing. Should you fork out for an editor, or can you get by on a DIY job? Before you decide, you've got to understand that editing isn't just one thing. It's actually 3 different jobs. First, you've got developmental editing, which is the big picture stuff. We're talking plot holes, pacing, and characters that have the personality of a brick. Then there's copy editing, which is the sentence level polishing. It fixes your grammar, your wonky syntax, and it makes sure that you didn't accidentally change your main character's eye color halfway through page 6. Finally, there's proofreading. This is the last line of defense for authors. It's catching those pesky TEH words instead of THE. It catches the stuff your brain has ignored for the last 50 plus read-throughs. Each stage costs money. And if you're on a budget, that's where the panic sets in. So why skipping it will cost you more? And I get it. Hiring a pro can cost money that you don't necessarily have. And it's tempting to think, I'll just get my mum to read it. She's great at English. But here's the thing. Readers don't usually leave reviews saying, wow, the copy editing here was sublime. They only really notice when the editing is missing. If your book is riddled with typos, you're going to get hammered in the reviews. It's a great story, but I couldn't get past the errors. That's the kiss of death on Amazon. Have you ever read an article online and the grammar or the spelling of one particular sentence halfway through the article has derailed your ability to read, and you actually can't go any further? Because that happens to me all the fucking time. That's what will happen with your book. That's what will lead to 1-star reviews. And 1-star reviews for bad grammar particularly will absolutely sink your launch faster than a lead balloon. You might be saving money today, but you'll lose 10 times that in lost sales later on down the line. DIY reality check. You're probably sitting there thinking, I literally have 0 money in the bank. If that's the case, DIY is your only option. And look, it can work, but you have to be disciplined. Use tools like Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid. They aren't perfect, but they will catch the obvious stuff. Try reading your book aloud. When you hear the words out loud, your ears will catch the clunky dialogue or the dodgy phrasing over what your eyes have skipped. And also get beta readers, because finding people who will be brutally honest with you, not just people to be nice, will actually be a lot more beneficial than you think that it could possibly be. If you're finding this helpful so far, please give this video a like. I've got loads of videos talking about my self-publishing journey that I hope will help you. So if you subscribe to the channel as well, they will be available soon and you'll be able to get notified when those come out. So the mistakes I made. I've learnt this lesson the hard way. Back in 2020, I released a book and I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was polished. I did the DIY thing. I read it aloud. I used software. I read it so many times and I hit publish feeling like a rock star. Then Nothing happened. Some friends read it and they found several typos and grammar mistakes and clunky bits. And yeah, they were right. There were a lot of them. Because I had gone blind to seeing them, because I read it over and over again. I rewrote it over and over again. By the time I got to One Epic Year, years later, I decided it was time to do it properly, and I got other people involved. And frankly, the difference was night and day. The reviews weren't talking about my grammar. People were actually reading it all the way through. And that's what it is that you want. You want the writing to be invisible so the story can shine. So how to edit on a budget? So if you can't afford to hire somebody and go down that route for your editing, there are some middle ground options available to you. You need to prioritize proofreading. If you only have money for one thing, make it the final polish. You need to do the heavy lifting yourself. Don't send a messy draft to anybody and ask them to proofread it as well. You're wasting time. It will get sent back to you with a load of edits, which you'll do, and then you'll send it back. Try and polish it as much as possible in the first instance. Clean it up as much as possible so that they can focus on the tricky stuff. Go in stages. What you could do is hire in stages. So if you can't afford to go down the full developmental edit, try doing a partial. Edit the first 50 pages. The problems in those first 50 pages and the lessons you learn in those first 50 pages will probably apply to the rest of the book. So what's the honest answer? If you want a career and you can afford it, pay for an editor. It's an investment, not an expense. If it's a hobby or a personal project, DIY is fine. But you need to remember, readers don't care how much you spent or how hard you worked. They only care about how the book reads, so they don't get that chapter 18 stumbling block and can't continue. Your book deserves better than a partial read, and so do you.